Even before Lin Tian attacked, Chang sensed the monster's presence and became wary. Now he wouldn't be caught off guard. Chengji soon reacted the moment he realized someone was following him. Without wasting time, he used his explosive arrow in self-defense, mistaking the person for a monster. To his surprise, after hitting his target, Chengji noticed that it was a fake dummy used to distract him. In that moment, Lin Tian used his instantaneous strike attack to take advantage of Chengji, but Chengji already sensed his enemy's action and turned back to block the attack. Chengji then pushed Lin Tian back, acknowledging that it was clever of Lin Tian to distract him, and then launch a sneak attack. Despite the surprise attack, Chengji continued to put up a tough fight. Lin Tian also shouted that he had the agility of an assassin warrior. Lin Tian then utilized his agility to hide once more and activated his stealth mode. Chengji wondered why his opponent had disappeared, and whether the enemy was relying solely on their agility skill to keep track of him. So, Chengji began to wonder whether the enemy was a human or a monster, and to find out, he decided to use his enchanting light skill to see the enemy's face. With the arrow of enchanting light, the area would be illuminated. However, the moment he shot his arrow, Lin Tian used his hands to catch and break it, keeping the area in darkness. Even Lin Tian wondered whether his stealth mode wasn't working, as Chengji accurately predicted his location. Lin Tian then told Chengji that even with those tactics, he still didn't stand a chance. Chengji became furious and shouted that Lin Tian wasn't worthy of being his opponent. Chengji then aimed an arrow at Lin, but to his shock he was poisoned as his body started to weaken. It actually happened because Lin's friend, Mist Toxin Mushroom, used his ability. Mist Toxin Mushroom was capable of emitting light toxins that invade the body through the respiratory tract. Normally, the toxin could be broken down by the body, but it could explode in the body during instances of strenuous exercise. Surprisingly, Chengji also realized that it was a toxin gas, but he noticed that the toxin gas was very light and not of a fatal type. At that moment, Chengji thought that he had the antidote, but it would be better for him to leave it like that so he could take advantage of the situation. Lin Tian was also impressed to see that Chengji was still maintaining his sanity, proving that he was worthy of being an elite team leader. Lin Tian then told Chengji not to expect a fair fight from him. Afterward, he shouted, "Mushroom," and various types of mushrooms appeared out of nowhere. Slowly, a full team of different types of mushrooms assembled in front of Chengji. Seeing this, Chengji was shocked and realized that it was a dangerous situation he wasn't expecting at all. The mushrooms launched various types of attacks on Chengji, covering his entire body in mud and slime. Lin Tian praised his mushroom friends for their work and proceeded towards Chengji, saying that they could now end the fight. However, to Lin's surprise, arrows started coming towards him. When Lin Tian looked upward, he saw that Chengji emerged from the slime and mud, and even his health was recovering a bit per second. Chengji shouted that he was going to wipe out Lin, but Lin Tian was still so agile that he easily dodged those arrows. Lin Tian then told Chengji that even with his advanced antidote potion backing him up, under the influence of so many mixed toxins, the strength and accuracy of the arrows were still far from perfect. So Chengji's attacks were no longer effective. At that moment, Lin Tian revealed himself, shocking Chengji to see that his enemy was Lin. Before Chengji could say or do anything more, Lin Tian wasted no time and slashed with his sword, cutting Chengji's body into 2 parts, resulting in his death. In a sarcastic mood, Lin Tian bid farewell to Chengji, ironically referring to him as a friend. Lin Tian then received a notification that his mission was 50% completed, and the reward was 100 jungle points, reaching level 12 in the process. Lin Tian pondered about reaching level 12 and where or how to use the jungle points, but suddenly he felt something strange nearby. When he looked around, he saw a magic teleportation circle mark had arisen behind him. Lin Tian quickly covered his face. The scene then shifted to Luo Feng's base, where goblins were still causing damage. Amidst the chaos, a comrade informed Luo Feng that Chengji had died. Luo Feng furiously responded, stating that he knew something like this would happen, as someone had wreaked havoc and taken advantage of the opportunity to eliminate their isolated team member. However, he quickly regained control and shouted that everything was still under his control. He then instructed Sarah to use her magic to send them away. Sarah began to harness his power, initiating a ritual teleportation spell, and within a few seconds, they vanished from their base. The goblins and their king were stunned, wondering what had happened and where they had all gone. On the other side, Lin Tian waited for everyone to come through the portal, wondering if it was a bait to lure him out. Within a few seconds, Luo Feng and the others arrived. However, Luo Feng was shocked and tense to see Lin, thinking he was a monster. He considered the possibility that Lin Tian might have recognized a special characteristic Lin Tian had, leaving him wondering if it was truly that character and how it was possible. The problem in the game is that at the same level, monsters tend to be slightly stronger and bigger than humans. However, humans have one advantage compared to monsters. They are good at scheming, grouping, and setting traps. That also made it possible for humans to kill monsters up to 10 levels higher than themselves, which had always been their unique advantage. However, now there was a monster using human tactics to hunt down the humans, and that's why Luo Feng was stunned to see Lin Tian as a monster, wondering how it could possess human-level intelligence. At that moment, Lin Tian takes off his mask and asks if Luo Feng doesn't remember him. Seeing Lin Tian in front of himself, Luo Feng was shocked, and his voice started wavering as he exclaimed, "It's Lin!" Everyone else was also shocked to realize that it was Lin Tian who had wiped out the third and fourth teams. The most surprising thing for them was that Lin Tian wasn't dead yet, so some of them tried to escape, saying they didn't want to die. But Luo Feng shouted at them to stop and not run. Luo Feng then reassured them not to be frightened by Lin, explaining that although he didn't know what method Lin Tian used to inhabit a monster's body, his level wasn't that high for the time being, as Lin Tian was only at level 12. Hearing this, Lin Tian also realized that there were too many of Luo Feng's comrades. Even if all the mushrooms were to participate in the battle, they might not be able to win. Furthermore, Lin Tian feared that his mushroom trump card would also be exposed. While he might have a chance to win with the help of the monster's will, he didn't think he would be able to regain his will this time. Luo Feng also shared with his comrades that Lin Tian was no longer the human warrior he once was. He had become a weak monster who hid in the shadows and relied on tricks. Then Luo told Lin Tian that it was unfortunate he hadn't been able to kill him before, but this time he would use his mage friend to bind Lin's soul before wiping him out. He also declared that this time he wasn't going to let Lin Tian escape again. Suddenly, Lin Tian started smiling, and slowly it turned into vigorous laughter. Lin Tian then asked if they said they were going to wipe him out, pleading them not to ridicule him, as Lu Daolong led 7 teams, but they still couldn't defeat him head-on. Lin Tian then asked if they really thought they could do it. Hearing this, everyone got scared, and Luo Feng laughed at them, calling them a bunch of losers. Without wasting time, Luo Feng attacked Lin Tian with his combat skill, the mountain-splitting attack, demanding that Lin Tian die. At that moment, Lin Tian activated his new skill of flight, and suddenly, to everyone's surprise, a massive blast occurred nearby, enveloping the surroundings in smoke. From the blast, everyone thought it happened because of Luo Feng's strike and wondered whether Lin Tian had been killed or not. But soon they noticed that Lin Tian was actually flying in the air. On the other side, Lin Tian received a notification that he had mastered the skill of flight. Lin, flying in the air, happily welcomed everyone, saying they were welcome in his jungle. Lin Tian even taunted them, telling them to welcome their upcoming deaths. With no other choice, they began to attack Lin, shouting to shoot him down. Seeing this, Lin Tian laughed and asked if they really thought they could hit him from that distance. Sarah joined the fight and asked everyone to move aside. Shen then began using her dazzling light array attack on Lin, and surprisingly, it reached Lin. Seeing this, Lin Tian praised her, acknowledging that being able to cast tracking magic at such a distance made her truly worthy of being the leader of the mages. However, he soon made a joke, saying that the speed was still within his range of agility. When Lin Tian tried to escape from those mages, Luo Feng used his strength to throw the axe towards Lin. Lin Tian saw it coming and managed to dodge, but still got a little scratch from it. He wondered whether the throwing ability of the level 15 warriors was truly that terrifying. Lin Tian then flew higher into the sky, and on the ground, Luo Feng felt disheartened that he still hadn't been able to hit Lin Tian with his attack. At that moment, Lin Tian showed them a middle finger, shouting that he would definitely wipe them out the next time they met, before flying away from the scene. Luo Feng shouted at everyone to go and find Lin Tian for him. However, someone responded that Sarah's teleportation consumed too much energy, and she couldn't cast anything else. Moreover, regarding the team, the only one capable of tracking a flying invisible target was Cheng Jie, but he was already dead. Luo Feng furiously asked what use the team had. Sarah stood up and told Luo Feng not to worry about finding Lin Tian because Lin Tian had been affected by her dazzling array spell. With her magical aura on him, she could track him down. She mentioned that Lin Tian didn't know he could still be chased down like that. On the other hand, Lin Tian thought that he must cross the valley, avoiding the hordes of monsters along with the Goblin Tian guards, before entering the tree realm. This was because the key to the tree realm wasn't a physical object, but an altar hidden under the eucalyptus tree, which required a large amount of magic power to unlock. Lin Tian then shared that the company had failed to find the altar's location even after several attempts. His plan was to have Luo Feng and the goblins fight each other to the death to reap the rewards and advance to level 15 before taking his time to find the key. He also mentioned that he didn't expect Luo Feng, who looks like a stupid guy, to be so cunning. Luo Feng set a marking spell on his team members to identify their opponents, which spoiled his whole plan. Lin Tian then continued, explaining that although he was able to escape by unlocking the flight skill, his plan to kill both sides couldn't be accomplished. The Goblin Tian guards would return to the eucalyptus tree, so there was no way for him to find the altar. Here comes the main twist. While everyone thought that Sarah had secretly put a mark on Lin's body, Lin Tian knew he had definitely been marked by that mage during the chaos. Since they left a mark on him, he might as well take advantage of this opportunity. He thought that if Luo Feng abandoned the expedition and went back to the company to report that he was still alive, he would be in trouble. However, if he thought clearly, with a character like Luo Feng's, he wouldn't do it, as it would cause problems for him too. The scene then shifted towards Luo Feng and his comrades. Sarah was tense and wondered aloud, saying that it was very strange. Lin Tian was clearly dead, so how did he turn into a monster and come back to life? The team members suggested that they should abandon the expedition immediately and report Lin's whereabouts to the company, as they were definitely no match for him. One member said that Lin Tian was a devil, and who knew what else he had up his sleeve. They had barely managed to survive last time, so he didn't want to fight Lin Tian again. All this time, Luo Feng was wondering whether he should tell Liu Daolong about the situation. He then remembered Liu Daolong's words. Strength was the basic law of the jungle, and it determined the value of someone's existence. To survive in the jungle, a person had to prove their worth to him. Suddenly, out of nowhere, remembering this, Luo Feng got tense and shouted that he couldn't tell Liu Daolong. Sarah pointed out that Lin Tian was unusual and had been marked by her spell, so if they notified the company, they would still be able to track him down. More importantly, they should let Lin Tian run away, upon which Luo Feng asks Sarah not to forget that the entire system was designed by Lin, so Lin Tian knows all the advancement requirements and the skills of all the professions clearly. However, if they work together for the time being, they might be able to defeat Lin. Sarah again pointed out that once Lin Tian had the time to recover, they may not be able to find him even if they notified Liu Daolong. Luo Feng responded that if Liu Daolong found out that they couldn't even deal with a level 12 monster, there would be no place left for them in the jungle. Luo Feng also pointed out that Lin Tian was the one who proposed the development of Helen butterflies, and his targets were the Helen butterflies. They had just gotten caught in the crossfire. The eucalyptus tree realm was his main target. So Luo Feng shares that he thinks they would definitely meet Lin Tian again as soon as they find the eucalyptus tree altar. At the same time, both Luo Feng and Lin Tian decided that they couldn't let this opportunity pass to wipe them out in the jungle. Like that, a few days passed, and Luo Feng and his team started installing crystals around all the corners of the tree to get notified whenever an enemy enters. In the next scene, a member of Luo Feng's team announced that the crystal arrangement in the northwest corner was laid out and the formation link was completed. Upon hearing this, Sarah shared that the last crystal node in the northwest corner was set, so now they could build the barrier. Afterward, Sarah started using her skills to build a very high-level barrier, and within seconds, the whole eucalyptus tree got surrounded by it. Exhausted from installing the barrier, Sarah informed everyone that the barrier formation was fully set. So, even if Lin Tian had the ability to fly and become invisible, there was no way for him to escape that area. She also shares that the magical aura of the mark on Lin's body was getting fainter and fainter, which meant Lin Tian was becoming harder to track. Luo Feng responded that it was just a crossbow's last arrow, and with Lin's current level of strength, there was still a chance that Lin Tian would continue to cause trouble secretly. However, if they found Lin, there would be no room for him to do anything. Luo Feng then said that their scope was just this big, with both Lin Tian and the Tree Realm's altar in this area. If they found Lin Tian again, there would be absolutely no way for him to escape. Just at a nearby place on a tree, Lin Tian was sitting and wondering, feeling tense. He had been fighting with those guys using guerrilla warfare tactics for a few days now, but he still hadn't found the altar. He then shared that he was using the mushrooms to survey the distribution of the monsters in the valley. Then, pretending to be human, he attacked the monsters' camp, provoking a fight between the monsters and Luo Feng and the others. And he had repeated that method several times, but once they were prepared, it was basically futile to hurt them. With the spiritual pet masters catching the movements of the Goblin Tian Brigade, the mages providing healing, and the warrior archers clearing the field, it's fair to say that they formed a fully armored brave team that was almost invincible in the jungle. Lin Tian also shares that as long as they didn't clash with the General Goblin, they could completely clear the Valley of Monsters. After all, the upper limit of the level of the monster in the jungle wasn't that high. Moreover, as they defeated the goblins and the jungle monsters, the mages set up their magic formations, narrowing the area Lin Tian could hide to the vicinity around the eucalyptus tree. Lin Tian was fortunate that the tree on which he was hiding was a spiritual spine tree, which had magical qualities that could mask marking magic. Even though Lin Tian had advanced to level 13, he couldn't do anything against a team. Lin Tian then frustratedly looked towards his mushroom partner and wondered why the mushroom hadn't found the altar yet. With so much ground to cover and the mushroom clan's sensitivity to the spiritual power of the earth veins, it shouldn't be impossible. Suddenly, his mushroom friend acted happily. Seeing this, Lin Tian curiously asked if it had found it. The mushroom nodded in agreement. Lin Tian happily exclaimed that it was time for the decisive battle. On the other side, Sarah got happy and shared that she figured out the whereabouts of Lin. Upon hearing this, Luo Feng ordered everyone to let's go, as the place was only a short distance away, and Lin Tian must have found the entrance to the realm. Furiously, he shouted at everyone to follow him, emphasizing that this time they had to wipe out Lin Tian no matter what. Meanwhile, on Lin's side, he was flying towards the destination, wondering how he had been found. With all the commotion, it was going to be the final battle this time. So he speeds up and covers his face, intending to stir up the whole jungle. On the other hand, Lin Tian asks the mushrooms to mobilize the entire monster population in the jungle to create a storm as big as the paddock. As Luo Feng and the others were running towards Lin's location, they were followed by some monsters. While running, Luo Feng asked Sarah to quickly narrow down the barrier formation and surround Lin Tian under the eucalyptus tree, as they must wipe him out. Suddenly, they were attacked by the monsters. Seeing this, Luo Feng realized that Lin Tian was stirring up the monsters again. So, Luo Feng ordered the left and right teams to hold off the monsters while asking the rest of the teams to keep moving forward. Sarah spoke up and said that it seemed like Lin Tian knew he wouldn't be able to get away this time, so he stirred up all the monsters. Upon hearing this, Luo Feng asked if Lin Tian could really control the monsters. Sarah responded that it would be too much to assume that Lin Tian could control the monsters, as most of the time, Lin Tian relies on leading them into the monsters' territory. The current situation looks like some kind of toxin had been used to make the monsters go berserk. She also said that she thinks so far he had shown nothing more than regular human tactics, and he was nothing more than a level 12 monster, so they didn't have to worry. Suddenly, a big splash happened near them, prompting Luo Feng to shout that the main problem had arrived, as it must be Lin's greatest card. Soon, a giant monster named the boss of Labyrinth Valley, General Goblin, appeared. So, without waiting, Luo Feng ran towards the General Goblin, shouting that he would wipe out that monster and see how many more cards Lin Tian had. The teammates asked Sarah to go and help Luo Feng, but she denied, saying that there was no need, as the monster boss was no match for the team leader, and they had more important enemies to focus on. Sarah told them that Lin Tian was very close to them in front, so she asked everyone to follow her and go wipe out Lin. However, deep down, Sarah was also thinking about taking revenge for the death of Cheng Jie. On the side of the eucalyptus tree, Lin Tian was standing near the altar and realized why he couldn't find it even after searching for so long. The eucalyptus tree was used as a cover. Lin Tian then started chanting or reading something. Lin Tian shared that he was fortunate that he had studied jungle letters, and he was sure enough that just like the legendary stone slab, there was a magic altar at the entrance of the tree realm. Suddenly, his mushroom partners got serious and indicated something. Seeing this, Lin Tian realized that Luo Feng and the others were near him. Lin Tian got attacked by them with flare flames. He dodged them somehow, but he landed on a magic area. Lin Tian was going to say something, but upon realizing, he got impressed and said that the combination of attack magic and trap magic released at the same time was very impressive. He praised Sarah for that. Sarah's teammates confirmed that the trap magic had successfully captured the target. Sarah praised them for their work and told Lin Tian that there's no way out for him now. Lin Tian responded that the double binding magic, restricting his flight and agility, was indeed a surefire way to deal with him, but they had to watch out for him escaping. Hearing this, Sarah got tense, but she reminded herself that she didn't need to be afraid, as Lin Tian was no longer a professional warrior and was now just a level 13 monster. She asked Lin Tian to stop bluffing, as he had been completely suppressed, and urged him to show her what else he could do to escape. Sarah then launched an attack towards Lin Tian with her magic flare blast, which hit him. Seeing this, she smiled. The scene then shifted towards Luo Feng, where he somehow defeated the General Goblin Tian and got promoted to level 16. Luo Feng shared that he couldn't believe he had reached level 16. Luo Feng then thought that he should wait until he had collected the perfect materials to change his profession, but he soon realized that his current strength was enough to deal with Lin, so he went towards the way where everyone had gone. While on the way, Luo Feng saw that his teammates were standing alone and Sarah wasn't there, so he asked them where Sarah was. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he saw something and was shocked by the scene before him. The scene comes back to Lin, where it shows that Lin Tian wasn't hurt by Sarah's attack. Lin Tian smiles and tells Sarah that her magic wasn't strong enough. It needs to be more intense. Even Sarah was shocked to see that Lin Tian wasn't hurt, intensely said that the magic altar was the entrance to the tree realm, and Lin Tian was relying on it to absorb their magic to block attacks. Sarah then stated that Lin Tian was very naive if he thought he could just use things like that. To her surprise, Lin Tian responded that it was more than that, as he was going to use it to drain them of their magic power. Suddenly, an orb crystal arises out of nowhere, draining their power. Seeing this, Sarah shockingly asks Lin Tian how it's possible that he was using magic when he wasn't a mage. On the other hand, Luo Feng was actually stunned and shocked to see that Sarah's barrier was dissipating, so there would be no way for them to trap Lin. For a second, Luo Feng felt tense, wondering if they were going to let Lin Tian escape again. At that time, Lin Tian shares that there were 24 professions for human warriors, and 72 routes to choose from after changing professions. The skills that each profession could perform were based on one's own profession. He also shares that it was the science of that jungle, which was developed by Shenchuang technology to transform the jungle using the stone slab they unearthed there. He was the chief in charge of that process. When he was still a human, he was able to utilize the stone slab to realize his status as a full professional warrior. He then told Sarah that although he was now a monster, he was no longer qualified to perform warrior skills. And he asked Sarah not to forget that he designed all the professions himself. So by modifying a few characters in the magic formations she set up, it's possible to use the altar to train their magic formation power. Sarah's stick falls to the ground as she wonders how that could be possible since their power had gone. Lin Tian shared that his original plan was for them to wipe each other out and for him to slowly find his way in after the harvest. However, their persistence had given him a new inspiration. Maybe he could use them to open up the tree realm. Luckily, they were the first ones to come after him. If they had come with Luo Feng, he would have had no choice but to enter the tree realm first and then think of a way to deal with them there. Sarah furiously asks Lin Tian not to get carried away, as neither the team leader nor the company would let him go. Sarah's teammates start apologizing, saying that it was Luo Feng's fault and that it's the company that made them do this. They then ask Lin Tian to let them go and promise they wouldn't do it again. Lin Tian asks them to stay assured that they didn't have to come find him, as he would slowly find them all by himself. The scene then shifted towards Luo Feng and the remaining teammates. While running, Luo Feng shared that it didn't matter even if the barrier formation broke, as Sarah and the others would definitely hold Lin Tian down. With the mage team's ability, there would be no problems. Upon reaching, Luo Feng fell silent. Seeing this, the others asked why he was so quiet, wondering if something had happened to the mage leader, Sarah. Luo Feng was also shocked and unable to accept the situation. When the others reached there, they were stunned to see that Lin Tian was standing there, welcoming them as the last course of that feast. Everyone noticed that the mage leader, Sarah, had been wiped out and couldn't believe that a level 12 monster had done that. Lin Tian smiled and asked them to relax, assuring them that everyone would get their share. Upon hearing this, everyone got scared and started shouting, running away. However, Lin Tian used his speed and agility to catch up with them, wiping them all out with his fangs. But to Lin's surprise, he saw that Luo Feng was also helping him and wiping out his own teammates. So Lin, surprisingly, asked Luo Feng what he was doing, venting his anger on his own people. Luo Feng responds that he was accepting that he underestimated Lin Tian before. Lin Tian smiles and asks about the present time, questioning why Luo Feng shouldn't be running away with his tail between his legs. Luo Feng responds that the tree realm was open and there were no barriers to trap them, so running away might be a good option for Lin. Hearing this, Lin Tian got furious and asked Luo Feng not to provoke him, stating that the only reason he was still there was because he was waiting for him. Lin Tian also said that after using so many schemes and tricks along the way, it was time for him to show his strength, as strength was the first law of survival in the jungle. With that, he started running to attack Luo Feng. When Lin Tian attacked Luo Feng, he easily blocked the attack. Seeing this, Lin Tian understood that Luo Feng was a typically powerful player, so he couldn't let Luo Feng get near him. To prevent this, Lin Tian used his agility to move faster. However, Luo Feng thought that it was a type of invisibility skill. Suddenly, Luo Feng felt someone approaching from behind, and when he turned back, it was Lin Tian attempting to launch a sneak attack. However, Luo Feng easily blocked the attack by swiftly counterattacking Lin. Stunned by the counterattack, Lin Tian realized that Luo Feng's defense was also ridiculously high, as he was bred by the company's Krypton money. At that moment, Lin Tian could only see that the way to break through Luo Feng's defense was through speed. So he began to run very fast near Luo Feng, hoping to distract or confuse him. However, Luo Feng remained focused, carefully observing Lin's movements. Anticipating Lin's next move, Luo Feng swiftly ran towards that side and launched his attack with his shaft, shouting and asking Lin Tian if that was all he had. Due to the force of that attack, Lin Tian was sent flying through the air and collided with a stone. Luo Feng, undeterred, asked Lin Tian if that was the best he could do. Suddenly, to Luo Feng's surprise, a small mushroom appeared in front of him. Slowly, all the big and small mushrooms gathered and surrounded Luo Feng, causing him great confusion. Out of nowhere, the mushrooms began attacking Luo Feng with their toxins, and within seconds he was fully covered in their slimy toxins. At that moment, Lin Tian wondered if they had captured Luo Feng with such ease, but his doubts were soon dispelled as Luo Feng emerged from the slime and launched an attack towards Lin Tian with his sword. Anticipating the move, Lin Tian was prepared and easily dodged the attack. Luo Feng asked Lin Tian if those little mushrooms were his trump card, explaining that it made sense how he was able to keep track of their movements and mobilize the jungle monsters, as those inconspicuous things were indeed difficult to notice. He then attacked Lin, saying that if he hadn't made some preparations after seeing Chengji's death, he might have gotten caught too. Lin Tian felt tense, wondering if the mushroom attack was really useless, and started running to avoid Luo Feng's attacks. Luo Feng asked Lin Tian if he didn't want to face him, and whether he was going to keep running away. He then made a joke of Lin, saying that he wasn't a professional warrior, but just a coward. Despite having that kind of power, whether in human society or the jungle, he still lived like a cowardly clown. Hearing this, Lin Tian stopped running and hovered in the air in front of Luo Feng. Seizing the opportunity, Luo Feng attacked Lin Tian with a chain to lock him in, shouting that he wouldn't let Lin Tian escape this time. Seeing the chain coming towards him, Lin Tian tensed up and realized it was a strategy aimed at him. Unsure of what to do, he decided to take action and moved through the chain towards Luo Feng. In a last-ditch effort, he managed to land a cut on Luo Feng's body. So this time, Luo Feng was under the illusion that Lin Tian was coming towards him because of the chain. But Lin Tian used that to his advantage to make Luo Feng delusional. Luo Feng was shocked to suddenly receive a cut out of nowhere. Lin Tian felt happy, thinking that he had finally broken through Luo Feng's defense. Hearing this, Luo Feng laughed and asked Lin Tian what he was so proud of, as despite all his efforts, all he had managed to do was inflict such a tiny wound. Suddenly, Luo Feng felt stunned as he sensed his body being attacked from the inside, realizing it was poison. Lin Tian explained that the jungle points awarded for wiping out Sarah and the others allowed him to activate his last skill, poison. This poison was different from the negative toxins of the mushrooms, which only affected movement and perception. Lin's poison was a lethal neurotoxin. Even Luo Feng agreed with Lin, acknowledging the potency of the poison as he suddenly felt like losing all his strength. He realized that it must be Lin's last resort to deal with him. Suddenly, to Lin's surprise, Luo Feng sat on the ground and started doing something. Lin Tian was stunned because he knew that Luo Feng was attempting a profession transfer. Tensely, he asked if Luo Yue had given access to the option of transferring professions. Luo Feng responded with a yes, explaining that after Lin Tian left the company, the restriction on profession transfers was lifted. Hearing this, Lin Tian became even more tense, realizing that it wasn't good. He knew he had to stop Luo Feng from transferring his profession. Even with Lin's sudden reaction upon learning this, he wasn't able to stop Luo Feng from transferring professions, and now Luo Feng was a berserker. After completing the transfer, Luo Feng laughed and wondered if this was the power of a berserker, feeling incredibly empowered at the moment. Seeing this, Lin Tian also felt tense and shared that berserkers have the ability to remove all negative statuses when they go berserk. Additionally, they can constantly increase their fighting spirit and attack power, essentially turning themselves into unstoppable killing machines. Lin Tian then wondered if he was definitely no match for Luo Feng, considering pulling back. But just as Lin Tian was contemplating this, he was startled by Luo Feng, who blocked his way and asked if he was planning to run away. Lin Tian interpreted that the first thing Luo Feng did was block the entrance to the tree realm, leaving him with no other choice but to fight Luo Feng seriously. Suddenly, Lin Tian saw that Luo Feng was attacking towards him, and he felt tense because Luo Feng was much faster than him, which wasn't good at all. Luo Feng attacked Lin, but Lin Tian somehow managed to block it and move away. However, the next moment, Luo Feng disappeared. Seeing this, Lin Tian was stunned and wondered where Luo Feng had gone. Suddenly, Lin Tian heard Luo Feng's voice coming from behind, asking him why he was looking elsewhere when he was right there. Until Lin Tian looked back, he got attacked by Luo Feng, but somehow he still managed to block Luo Feng's attack and inject his fang into his stomach. Surprisingly, Lin Tian asked Luo Feng if a wound like that happened to him, but he still didn't feel a thing, wondering if that was the power of a berserker. Lin Tian then admitted that he was no longer an opponent to Luo Feng at all, expressing his concern about this fact. He concluded that it seemed the only way to deal with a monster was to become a monster himself. Lin Tian then decided to give his body to the monster. The moment he made that decision, something different started happening to his body. Even Luo Feng got scared for a few seconds, and as the transformation of Lin Tian completed, he was pushed away by Lin Tian and fell far away. Now, Lin Tian had completely changed into a monster, leaving Luo Feng tensely asking what kind of monster that was. After that transformation, Lin Tian became very powerful, which made Luo Feng tense, wondering how many trump cards Lin Tian had. The fight began between them, and gradually Luo Feng increased his rage power by attacking and defending himself. At last, when Luo Feng's rage reached its peak, he got serious and jumped towards Lin Tian to finish him off, shouting for Lin Tian to die. Lin Tian also attacked back at Luo Feng. Both of their attacks caused a big blast in the jungle and smoke filled the surroundings. When the smoke cleared, both Lin Tian and Luo Feng were standing, their backs facing each other. At that moment, Luo Feng praised Lin, acknowledging that he was truly something extraordinary, which impressed him. Just after saying that, Luo Feng fell to the ground and died. Lin Tian turned back to see it, and he also fell to the ground. The scene then shifted to the headquarters of Shenchuang Technology, where Liu Daolong asked an intern if there was still no reply from Luo Feng and what they were supposed to do for a living. The intern responded with an apology, explaining that Luo Feng hadn't responded to the Union messages. They had increased the number of searchers deployed in the jungle, but the equipment couldn't operate for long periods of time in that environment. Suddenly, Luo Yue arrived and asked Liu Daolong not to embarrass the intern. Luo Yue then revealed that they found Luo Feng, but there was bad news. Tensely, Liu Daolong asked what the bad news was. The scene shifted back to the game, where Lin Tian was fighting with his inner self to return to his original form, but he couldn't. Lin Tian wondered if it was because of his higher level, or if the power of the monster's will had increased even more than before. Lin Tian became tense as it wasn't good. He realized he had to enter the tree realm as he might be able to fix the situation there. However, Lin Tian found it difficult to even hold on for such a short distance as he hardly moved towards the tree realm. Suddenly, to his surprise, Lin Tian received a notification that he had completed the quest and was rewarded with points. Overjoyed, Lin Tian asked the screen to search for items that could fix mental disorders and purchased them immediately. His search revealed a purification potion, which required 500 points for purchase. However, Lin's current point balance was 0, which made him even more tense. Suddenly, he remembered that there should be an exchange function in the store. Lin Tian ordered the store to pick and collect the battle trophies and exchange them for jungle points. After inspection, his interface showed that there was a total of 1,200 points worth of items to be redeemed. Lin Tian confirmed the trade without hesitation. Lin Tian hastily responded with a yes and asked the screen to buy the potion after the trade. He even felt a tinge of sadness, realizing that Luo Feng must have acquired many rare items and exchanged them all for points before he even had time to open them. However, at that moment, the purchase was successful, and Lin Tian acquired the potion to return to his original form. The scene then shifted back to Shenchuang headquarters, where Liu Daolong surprisingly asked if Lin Tian entered the tree realm. Luo Yue responded that the jungle force field had just shown a massive surge of magic power in the Labyrinth Valley, indicating the opening of the tree realm. Liu Daolong asked why Luo Feng didn't notify them first if he was conquering the eucalyptus tree. Luo Yue opened a door and responded that it might have something to do with the legendary stone slab. The force field energy of the legendary stone slab was getting stronger, and it took a great deal of effort to stabilize the portal. She also mentioned that it seemed the time when the jungle consumed the earth was fast approaching. They still didn't know that Lin Tian was alive and responsible for all the changes. They were all still under the impression that Luo Feng was responsible. However,